Hey everybody, welcome to our first video in a series about Bootstrap. What you're looking at right here is the end product of what we're going to talk about today, which is how you go and you use Bootstrap cards on the page. So first things to talk about is where would we go and start with Bootstrap. There's really two different places you can start. One is at the W3 schools here. They have some Bootstrap information, but probably the better one to start with is at getbootstrap.com. So when you get to the Get Bootstrap website, it looks like this, and the Get Started portion will take you to their documentation. And from this Get Started link right here, we go and we find this starter template. Now, there's multiple different ways that you can go and get started with Bootstrap. Ideally, if you're designing a site professionally, you would want to download it and install, get it all on your server. However, for us right now, getting started, the starter template is great. So what we're going to do, we're just going to copy this. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to put it on our notepad page right here. So things that we don't need are this H1. We do not need that to say that. So we'll just get rid of it. And then in the title section here, this is going to be our Bootstrap cards. So one of the things I don't like about their starter template is how the code is aligned. So if you just select all and hit Shift Tab until it's all aligned flush with the left side of the page, what we can then start to do is we can start to go ahead and tab things the way that I like them to be, which is with an actual full tab. I get reasonably particular about how I like code to look, and this really makes things better for me. Additionally, I like to have a little extra space in the body there so we don't overwrite our closing tags. So we have a couple of things to talk about on this page. First is our responsive meta tag. When you are talking about responsive web design, one of the important things to know is how you go about finding what device somebody's actually viewing your page from. This responsive meta tag is part of the answer to that, and it always sets our scale here to 1, so our page should look consistent when it loads. Additional things, we have our CSS for Bootstrap, which is, since we use the starter template here, stored in an online code library. And then here our JavaScript at the bottom. This stuff in the beginning here just stays there, and you'll see the uses for that later on. So where do we start? In the body, what we're going to start with is we're going to go ahead and divide our page up. The general sections that you'll do are going to be the header, the nav, where we will replace our navigation when we do that. We have our kind of main content section here, which is going to be our div with a class of container. And container is actually another Bootstrap class, and it is another one that I use very heavily when I'm doing pages with Bootstrap. And then our last one here is the footer. And these right now are just simply placeholders so we can get used to dividing the page. However, we will do definitely more with these as we go on. So container here is our first Bootstrap class. And what container does is it takes content that would normally stretch 100% of the width of the page, and it shrinks it, I think, to like 75 or 80% is probably what it does. But whatever it does not touch the outside of the page, which I find to be important. Additionally, it has some more things that it does responsively. As you get to the smaller screen sizes, it no longer takes and reduces the size of that page. It actually expands out to be the whole screen. So inside of our container, we are going to go ahead and do our first card. So fundamentally, we have a div and we're going to add this class of card on there. And no matter what you do, this is how your card starts. What we should do also is at the end here, Bootstrap's really, really heavy with div tags, and it gets really confusing at the end if you're not careful, because you have 4 or 5 of these different div tags that all close at once. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that I comment and say which one of these is which. So I'm going to say this is the close of our card. And additionally, I'm going to go here, and we say this is a close of our container. Oops. Tainer. I can spell, believe it or not. All right, so inside of our card here, there's a couple of different tags you can use. There's actually many, many different ways that you can do card. But the way that I usually start is probably like an H4. And I give that a class of card header. Card header. And I'm just going to put header here. And just like the page, you are going to have a header. You're going to have the next class, which will be the card body. And then you'll have a card footer. And as you see, I like to close my tags to eliminate errors. I think that is always best practice. And then we'll just simply put footer here. Now, fundamentals, we have a header, a body, and a footer for our card. And the last thing we need inside of the body is that we need a paragraph. And that's going to be our card text right here. And we'll just put just a placeholder for card text. So when we go ahead and we preview it in our default viewer, what we get is this. We have the header section of the card, the body section where all your text would go, and your footer. Now, by default, this card is going to then go and be displayed all the way across the screen. And if we put a couple of different ones on here, what we're going to do is we're going to take our card all the way down to that comment we created for the close of card, and we're going to put 2 more on. For some reason, I really like cards in groups of 3. I just think it works better. So when we do that, you see they stack up on top of each other, and that's not necessarily what you're going to be looking for. The better way to see it is if you go, by the way, we're going to use a little shortcut here. We're going to hit this little minus button, and we're going to collapse our cards. If you find the line where it says card, hit the minus, you can collapse that code, just kind of make it disappear a little bit, hide it, so when we put this next thing on, it'll be a little easier to see. So our cards here, we're just going to go ahead, we're going to hit tab one more time, and then we'll recollapse them, because what I would like to do is I would like to show you what the card deck does. So if you add around surrounding these cards a div with the class of card deck, then what you do is you take, and we'll take this closing div tag and we'll put it underneath all of our cards that we just did, and we'll comment this. We'll say this is the close of our card deck. If we go ahead and we do this, what we have is something that's stacked up, and when we refresh, we see that they're going to now line up next to each other in a nice row with a little bit of space around them. And that's what their card deck is going to do. When I do cards like this, I usually use the deck because I like the way that it looks. So, as we go on, what we can then do is, for our card deck, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to minimize. And after, we're going to go ahead and do another deck. Like this. And we're going to go ahead and do our second batch. Oops, forgot the class. So what here we're going to do is we're going to say this is the close of the deck. So we're going to do a very similar process here. And we're going to put our next card in here. And we're going to comment it out. That's the close of the card. And you don't always have to use all of the different things. For this one, I'm going to use it a little bit different. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put our image tag on. And with Bootstrap, Bootstrap is really classy. You use classes quite a lot in Bootstrap to access the pre-done CSS. So then for image, we always need a source and an alt. And for alt, we're just going to put my image just as a placeholder. And for source, what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to do a quick little search for beach. And what I did here is I already did our search for beach. When you just Google search for beach and you click on the images, you have a whole bunch of things come up. What you use is totally up to you. What I'm going to do is I pick this one right here. I'm going to right click. I'm just going to copy the image address. And I'm going to put this in our src. And then for the class, what we need to add is card-img. So what you should get when you refresh your page is in our second row of the card deck here, we have this image. Now, it's, we haven't done the other parts yet. My fault. So after our card image, what we're going to do is we're going to add the card body. And we'll just put, inside the card body, we'll put an H4 that says the beach. And we're going to add the class for that. Card title. And then underneath our card title, what we'll do is we'll add our card text. We'll say that this page looks nice. So when we go back in and we refresh, you'll be able to see all of those things underneath our image. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put two more of those on. So what you have here is something that's rather large. So we're going to copy our card again. And with the card image tag, what you do is you have a look that looks really nice. It lines everything up the way that it looks nice and neat. so everything looks very organized on the page. Now, this is the kind of thing that you see in modern web design quite a lot. This whole card look. People get used to seeing that, and I think it's important to give people what they are used to seeing in most cases. Now, obviously, sometimes you change that, but giving a nice, clean, organized look is definitely the way to go. Now, for our last card deck here, what we can do is we can do it just a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to minimize our second card deck. So think of card deck as like a row of cards is what it really is. So when you want your cards to line up all nice and neat like that, you put them in a nice little row. Card deck is definitely your way to go. All right, last one here. So commenting again, close of the card deck. I suppose we should probably add the card deck in there, huh? And for this one, we're going to go and we're going to combine a couple of different things. So we're going to use that class of card one more time, because every card you starts with a class of card. What we're going to do then is we're going to use our H4, and then we're going to put our heading here, our heading for the beach. We're going to go and we're going to put our image in. And we'll just add the attributes in here. So this will be our beach image again. And then we'll go, and I think I still have that open there. We'll just go double check and recopy the link. And then our card IMG. And then we will go ahead and hit the caps lock, my bad. We'll put our card body. And then we'll put our paragraph. So definitely a lot of tags. It's very tag heavy card text. But as you're doing it, one of the important things to do is to definitely make sure that you align everything properly. Your div tags have indent everything so you can really clearly see what's what and where everything closes. Most common issue you're going to see is actually missing some of those div tags or missing closing tags. There's a lot of potential errors here. Let's see. So we'll use our card text. We're just going to put the beach. And then we're going to put our card footer on. And we'll just put footer. A little ambitious with the O key, my fault. And what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of go back and you see, if you remember with the original card. I didn't label our closing of card here, did I? And you can see right here is a good example. You have 1, 2, 3 div tags right in a row that close. It's really difficult to see sometimes where it is. So we're going to go and we're going to copy our card. It's going to go on there 2 more times. And what we're going to do is we're going to move the image. So in this last one here, what we're going to do is take the image tag and we're going to just put it underneath the body. We actually wanted to go underneath the body, my fault. In the middle one, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to put it underneath the header where it is. On the top one, we're going to go and we're going to move the image tag up above the header. But we definitely want it indented. So we can go ahead and finish off our look where you can see some of the different things that that'll do. So with the card IMG class, you can put your image on the top, underneath the header, or underneath the body. You can put it wherever. There are different tags you can use to put the image in specific places. I like the card IMG because I think it just works really, really well. So that's our cards right here. Go ahead and stay tuned for more about Bootstrap coming up.